Ever wonder, is my pool leaking? I have to keep putting water in it. So, is it a leak or is it just evaporation? It's really simple to find out. I'm going to show you how to do a bucket test so you can see whether it's evaporation or if your pool really has a problem. All right, today I'm going to go over the bucket test. What you're going to need is a bucket. It's a 5-gallon bucket. You may need something heavy. So if you're going to use something heavy, I'm going to show you a little later what you got to do before you use something heavy to weight down the bucket. Tape, and there's different ways we can put the tape on. Marking crayons if you have them, because I'm going to show you what we're going to do later in the skimmer. You can have a pencil, ruler, marker, just next to the bucket so I can top off the bucket. All right, first thing, easiest thing to do is get your tape and put your tape on the outside of the bucket, straight as you can. Then put your tape on the inside. So there's two ways of doing it. Sometimes I'll put it right in line with the tape. Sometimes I'll put it on the opposite side. This way I could look through and I could see my mark. So I'm going to put it just to the side. You can put it anywhere you want. Just try to make it straight. I use regular painter's tape because it comes right off. So I could reuse the bucket and take the tape right off. Next, you're going to fill the bucket up to about 2 inches from the top. Place it on the top step. You got to wait for this to settle down so you can make your mark. Let me point this right over here. Oh, we have the tape there. Take your marker, mark the level of the pool. You can do it in pencil, you can do a marker, you use a crayon. This is just about settled. Now, you're not going to be able to, or sometimes it's very hard to make the mark right where the water is. So, long as you make it right above. And then what you're going to do is you're going to wait 24 hours or more. It all depends on how bad your leak is, whether you think it might be evaporation or not. Sometimes one day won't be enough. So down in South Florida, some days we have evaporation and some days we don't. Some days we have a lot and some days we have a little. So 24 hours minimum, and then you want to raise it up. It could be 2, 3, 4, 5 days. It's all up to you on what you want to do. Once you did your test, let's say we waited 3 days. What we're going to do is we're going to measure inside with a ruler. Doesn't matter what kind of ruler you use, you're going to measure inside. So we wait about 24 hours to 48 hours, and now we want to check the bucket. So we're going to look inside the bucket. I can see the mark is about right where I left it yesterday. The water is about where it should be. And now we're going to measure the pool. So maybe hard for you to see, but the pool is actually down a half an inch. So inside the bucket, we had very little evaporation. Outside in the pool, we had a drop. This is going to signify that, yes, there is a leak in a pool. Something is going on and we need to check further. There are other ways that people do this test, and they'll use something big, like a rock or a brick. One thing you got to remember is the bricks or the rocks may be porous, which means if you just put a dry brick into the bucket, the brick is going to absorb some of the water. So when you first put it in, it displaced it and raised it. If you marked it over time, water is going to get sucked into here and that level is going to come down. So if you have to use a weight to keep the bucket down from moving, make sure you soak it overnight. So just get your bucket a night, 2 nights before, put the brick in the bucket, and then put water in the bucket and let it sit. Now you're going to be ready to do your test the next day. Another way you can do it, if you don't have enough tape to do the marks all the way down, it's very simple. What you're going to do is just put the bucket in very gently. You notice I got the weight. I'm going to use, and also some people don't have the strength to put this bucket underwater, fill it, and then pull it up. Just use another bucket to fill it up. So there's another technique where you don't fill the bucket all the way up. There are pros and cons to it. Some people will say that if the water is not high enough, then you're going to get more evaporation because of the heat in here. Some say different. Don't really know, but it comes out the same. So let's say that because you don't have the strength, you don't have the hand strength, you don't need to fill it all the way to do a test. It'll still work. But what you're going to do is I just put this in because I controlled it. It's all nice and settled. You can do a piece of tape and just mark the area. So we're going to do tape. We're going to do a marker, or you could use a pencil. So like I said, if you don't have the strength to fill this bucket up and put it on your first step, just get a piece of tape, and it's kind of hard to line it up, and just put it about where the water is. It's not going to be perfect. 1/4 of an inch, one is really hard to measure when you're making marks on top of water. So put the next piece of tape in. So now I have a piece of tape on the inside, a piece of tape on the outside. Let's say you don't want to use tape. Don't. Make a mark. So on the outside of the bucket, make a mark. Now you're going to have to go just a little above the water because you get your marker in the water, it's not going to work anymore. Make a mark inside the bucket, put a mark inside the bucket. Now you have a mark on the inside or the outside. You don't have a marker? Hey, no problem. Grab a pencil. Pencil is the least that you want to do, but if that's all you have, go ahead and scribe a mark right inside with a pencil. Hard to see, but it's there. It'll last. You don't have a marker, you don't have tape, you don't have a pencil, but you do have your kids' crayons. So just take the crayon. These are construction crayons. They work the same. Make a mark outside the bucket, and make a mark inside the bucket. What's great about crayons is that you can mark it underwater, so you can get it right on that line. So that is the bucket test. If you don't have everything you need, you could still use what you have at home. And if you don't have one of these buckets, but you have a smaller bucket, that'll still work. Not as well, but it'll still work. So let's say you only have this. You could still do the bucket test. I recommend a 5-gallon because that's what everyone is recommending. But you could do it with other ways. Just find a way. But what if you don't have a bucket? There is another way, and I also suggest when you do a bucket test, you do this next thing. So I always suggest that if you're going to do a bucket test, you do a backup mark just in case something happens to your bucket. And it could be anything. Pool service tech came, started cleaning the pool, accidentally moved the bucket or knocked into it. Kids are playing, it's really windy, or it just starts to float away because it wasn't weighted down enough and you weren't able to get enough water into it. Or maybe you don't have a step that's really close and you got to put it really deep. So to make sure that you don't waste all your time, if you want to get a sense of what's going on, and this is good for pool techs too, is just go inside the skimmer. No one's going to be able to see it. No one knows you're doing it. Take a marker, a pencil, a crayon, and come in here and just make a mark right at the water line. And what's really great about a crayon is you can do it underwater, so you can get right on that water line. Now, this is not the best method of seeing if you have a leak, but at least you have something. So let's say that you're just wondering, does this pool have a leak? You're servicing the pool or you're taking care of the pool. and you don't have a bucket, you don't have all of the stuff, just go make a mark inside the skimmer, wait a day or two, then go back and check it. Just remember, if you made the mark while the pump is on, check it while the pump is on. If the pump is off, check it while the pump is off, because that'll change the water level in the skimmer as the pump sucks the water out. There you have it. Bucket test. Easy, simple. Don't make it complicated. Have fun with it. You don't need the perfect bucket. You don't need the perfect tape. You don't need the perfect marker. Just put some water in the bucket, put it in the pool, mark it, piece of cake. Have fun with it. Don't go spending money on a bucket test. But the bucket test is a good sign. It's not all inclusive, but it gives you a really good idea of what's going on.